Hi everybody and welcome to another Friday's tutorial. And what I have discovered I really wanted to share with you. This is black watercolor paper and it's by Van Gogh. That's a Dutch brand, but other brands have this too. But I must say I totally fell in love with this magnificent paper. Now of course this is very nice with metallic paints or your iridescent colors if you have some. Perfect indeed, but I wanted to try out different kinds of material on this awesome paper. And I've put some more examples on my Patreon page, of course, along with a setup sketch. Because in this tutorial, I want to draw Paris by night. And this is one of my pre-studies that I did. Two actually. On top you see a gel pen and white pastel pencil. And here in the bottom I tried out my iridescent colors and the white watercolor paint. Now as you can see there's quite a bit of grain in this paper, but for some reason it doesn't bother me at all. It works just very nicely, and when put in with paint the grain kind of disappears, but still you can see it just a little bit. But look how beautiful the edges are and how that shine is when you are using iridescent paint. Now for this tutorial today I want to try out my pan pastels. If you don't have it, you can use your pan pastel colors or the bars if you have them. And this is the setup sketch that I've also placed on my Patreon page. And what I'm also using is my standard color pencils. The area is 15 high and 20 centimeters broad. And I've put in a straight line for the Eiffel Tower. Now the perspective is kind of like a frog perspective, so we are a little bit way down below. So the foot of the Eiffel Tower is a little bit broader and bigger and firm on the ground. And I've put my setup sketch just to the left so you can see the measurements, what their measurements are about. And on the bottom of the Paris by night there are bushes, and also I want to create a skyline, and from that skyline up there comes a lot of luminance, a lot of light. And the Eiffel Tower itself is a very recognizable image, of course. I do not draw in each and every little bar of iron because I want to put in a lot of light over it. But it's still a very recognizable building, if you want. Once placed for a big exhibition, and after the exhibition the Eiffel Tower was supposed to be brought down again. But they left it standing there, and now it's a big symbol for Paris. Everybody knows the Tower of Eiffel, or the Eiffel Tower. This is the skyline that I wanted to draw in. And let me notice you, I totally made this skyline up, so it doesn't exist at all, but I just needed it for this expressionistic drawing. I'm still using my white color pencil, and here I'm using a little bit of a glue stick to put in the moon. So I know that there is going to be the moon that I want to draw in. Now here you see my can of pan pastel. It's the titanium white, and this is my pastel knife. Now, if you do not have any pan pastels, you can also make this drawing with your pan pastel pencils. It just takes a lot longer. But what I do advise you is to buy a pan pastel knife, because you can use that to blend the pigments of your pastel pencils or your pastel bars. Now, as you can see, I'm tapping around a little bit, and in this way I am creating some atmospheric disappearance and some maybe stars that are glooming way in the back. And you can see how quickly this is done with the pan pastels. It gives it a kind of a shine, and it is totally amazing how good this paper absorbs the pigments of my pan pastels. I can easily rub over my drawing without blurring it out. Now, what you see here is my Kohinoor pencil eraser. A pencil eraser is a magnificent way of drawing, because you can just erase out very sharp edges, and the pencil eraser is just like a pencil. You can sharpen it with a pencil sharpener, and in that way you always have a very sharp eraser around. I love this material, this drawing material, and I really recommend this to you. Now you can see that with the pencil eraser I draw back in some of the iron bars that are in the Eiffel Tower. And what I also need it for is to draw in some branches that are in front of the moon. This is where the branch is going to be. Now I wanted to draw that in because otherwise the drawing would look rather dull. Now something is happening here in the left corner, and I'm using the same pencil eraser to draw out that circle that is going to be the moon. Then I take my white color pencil again, and I draw around the sticks that the branches, if you like, that I've drawn in with the pencil eraser. I try to blur out the grain that is now visible, but as you can see, it kind of sticks there. So well, I will just have to go back in there with the pan pastel. You can use a little brush for picking up pan pastel pigments, and in that way you have a much finer tip than the pan pastel knife. You can put a little bit of baby oil in the brush, and in that way you can really rub in some of the pigments, and in that way I'm making some shine upon my moon. Then I go back in with the Kohinoor pencil eraser again, and then I draw out those branches again, and I make a kind of a shine around the moon. I avoid hard edges. Then it's time to see what my color pencils will do when combined with the pan pastel and this magnificent black paper. I'm using a little bit of yellow in the moon and a little bit of green for, well, maybe just the tops of the trees. And here, way in the back, a little bit of blue, a cold color just around the buildings and the skyline and a little bit around the Tower of Eiffel. As you can see, the pigments go very well together, but always notice that once you have a greasy part on the paper, then it's kind of hard to go over it with the dry, chalky pastel. But the other way around, the chalky parts can always be overruled with the greasy color pencils. Here I want to draw in some windows, and of course there is light coming outside through that, and I simply use my white color pencil for this. I want to make that city pop and shine, and around Christmas they always put a little bit more effort to put in the lights in the Tower of Eiffel, and around New Year, of course, they put in all kinds of fireworks around it. It's just magnificent. Here I want to pop in some light too, because I think it's a little bit dull, and as you can see I can rub over it and it's just sticking there. This is a really magnificent paper. Now what of course I also want to draw in are a little bit of stars. And the sky is quite bright above a city, of course, but still there will be some stars. And this gives an extra dimension to the sky part. Here I'm popping out the branches again, and here and there just a little bit of extra detail. But it still just is a study, and it's an impressionistic drawing. Well, this paper really is something good, and I wish you all the luck with your drawing. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and maybe you can check out my Patreon page if it's something for you. Well, have fun with the drawing, and I would say I see you again next Friday.